Northern Coalition warns Buhari on opposing its call for herdsmen to leave the south. Edo State Assembly says no to House of Reps, said it has no power to take over State Assembly. On the foreign scene, U.S. House defies President Trump, votes to block arms sales to Saudi Arabia. And in sport, NFF President Amaju Pinnick removed as CAF's first vice president.
This is ANN News.
Hi, I'm Olajumoke Olatunji. The coalition of Northern Group is taking on the president and his opposition to their call that Fulani herdsmen leave the south. The group says President Muhammadu Buhari and his government would be held responsible if any Northerner suffers the consequences of their concerns about the southern part of the country. The group spokesman Abdulaziz Suleiman said in a statement on Thursday that although they welcome the assurance by the president, they also know that the lives of their kingsmen were being threatened in the south part of the country. The group, along with the Northern Elders Forum, had asked Fulani herdsmen to immediately return to the north as their security was no longer guaranteed in the southern parts of the country. The House of Representatives' threat to shut down the Edo State House of Assembly has been described by the Edo State government as unconstitutional. The House of Representatives had said it would take over the State Assembly if the state government did not inaugurate the House within 7 days. Secretary to the Edo State government, Osaro Dion Oge, said in a statement in Benin City, "The Nigerian Constitution does not give any power to the House of Representatives or the National Assembly to shut down a state House of Assembly." The statement also says the government and people of Edo State are appalled and disappointed at what it called the gross illegality and abuse of process by the House of Representatives. Oge said in the statement that the final verdict will ultimately be rendered by the people of Edo State. The Ooni of Ife, Oba Adeyeye Ogunwusi, has said the drum of war is sounding loud across the country, but that the southwest region is not interested in any other war. The monarch told State House correspondents at the end of a meeting with President Muhammadu Buhari in Abuja he was speaking on behalf of other traditional rulers in the region. On the issue of insecurity, the Ooni said most of the bushes in the remote parts of the southwest are occupied by strange people. He said the decision has been made to work with the governments to fish them out. He said the Southwest would do everything to avoid war so it can provide something better for its youth. A Nigerian Imam, Abubakar Abdullahi, has been honored with a U.S. International Religious Freedom Award. Abdullahi had risked his own life to save more than 200 Christians in Jos by hiding them in his mosque and home to shield them from alleged attacks by Fulani herdsmen in Bracken-Ladi local government area of Plateau State in June last year. Imam Abdullahi was honored alongside other recipients of the award from Cyprus, Sudan, Brazil, and Iraq. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo commended the heroic efforts of the freedom advocates. He said if the future of religious freedom rests on solid ground, it's because of people like those being honored at the occasion. President Buhari has congratulated the cleric for what he called, or he said, was a well-deserved honor. The president reaffirmed his administration's commitment to freedom of religion and worship for all Nigerians. The job market in Nigeria for young graduates is abysmal, and a huge percentage of the country's unemployment figures features mostly the youth. With no hope of seeing any changes at any time soon, Nigerian youths are turning to startups to save themselves from poverty and depression. Reporter Phil Ihaza tells the story.
Donna Akindele runs this salon and bridal shop with a number of trainees by her side. After completing her university degree 5 years ago, she spent 2 years looking for a job but had to resort to becoming an entrepreneur.
So I graduated from school and I didn't find a white-collar job, so I decided to make hairstyling professional, and that is what I do, and I think I'm doing well for myself. I also started training young graduates, just like me, in skills like makeup, tailoring, and also hairstyling, and in order for them to be self-employed, and that is what we are doing right now.
According to the National Bureau of Statistics, around 19 million people make up the workforce in Nigeria, but over 20 million of them, mainly youths, are currently unemployed. And just like Akindele, there's a trend of young graduates taking up new crafts in the absence of formal jobs in order to earn a living. Experts say this may be a turning point for Nigeria's struggling economy, but the government will need to improve the country's infrastructure and create an enabling environment for these businesses to grow.
Entrepreneurship itself requires good environment to operate. They may not altogether need 100% power supply, but they will need some meaningful level of energy to be provided. Another thing they require is trained labor before capital. So what we should do is we need to train people, change our curriculum, let it be entrepreneurship focused, particularly from primary school to secondary school and to higher institution.
And already, donors trainees are beginning to see themselves as entrepreneurs rather than applicants.
I don't even want to look for a white-collar job because I'm not really interested in it anymore. Looking at how demanding makeup is, I think I'll make more money in makeup than white-collar job.
In the nearest future, I would probably open a beauty place where I would then train other people to work under me.
In the last 4 years, the government has placed at least 700,000 youths across the country in empowerment programs like the N-Power scheme, which seeks to train young graduates in various skills. But the unemployment figures continue to soar.
Skills and knowledge are the driving forces of economic growth and social development. And experts say harnessing Nigeria's young demography through appropriate skill development could provide more lucrative opportunity for millions of its citizens and transform Africa's largest economy.
Coming up, African stories. Cameroon's separatist conflict paralyzes country's second largest employer. And later, international stories. U.S. House votes to block Trump's arms sales to Saudi Arabia.
You are watching ANN.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. Now to African stories. Cameroon's second largest employer, the Cameroon Development Corporation, says it has been paralyzed by the separatist conflict in the country's English-speaking regions. The agricultural giant has not been able to pay its staff for a year because of falling production and revenue. The Cameroon Development Corporation is the Central African country's second largest employer and runs banana, palm oil and rubber plantations. But the 3-year conflict between Anglophone rebels and government troops has forced the CDC to close farms and factories across the western English-speaking regions. CDC General Manager Franklin Ngoninje says more than half of its 20,000 workers have refused to work because of possible attacks. Ngoninje said the rest work only part-time. Cameroon's English-speaking regions protested in 2016 against discrimination in education and the justice system. The government responded with a crackdown and armed separatists fought back. African military officials attending the first China-Africa Peace and Security Forum have visited the Special Police College in Beijing. The college has carried out exchanges with delegations from more than 150 countries and regions. Participants say such visits can boost both exchanges and understanding. Correspondent Han Bin has more.
This combat-oriented training showcases the strength of China's elite armed police forces. It's a routine practice at the Special Police College, but today it has a special purpose. This is part of the programs of the first China-African Peace and Security Forum, which aims to strengthen cooperation.
I believe your visit here will play an active role in fulfilling the cooperative consensus reached by leaders of China and African countries and enhancing friendship between China and African countries. We would also like to carry out in-depth exchanges with your military forces in the future.
The Special Police College was founded in 1985 to train personnel for anti-terrorism operations. For 30 years, a large number of its graduates have gone on to serve in China's public security forces and the People's Armed Police Forces.
It is a very high training and it requires a lot of energy for young people. I hope that our young kids get the opportunity to come and join their colleagues here to get the training.
I'm very happy. I take this lesson from Chinese Special Force College.
So you think the Chinese police forces and the military forces can play a growing role in Africa's peace and security?
Of course, of course, of course. You can play the very good role for the Africans' peace, security, and sustain prosperity. So I'm confident for this.
Many participants say China's commitment to peacekeeping in Africa should continue. And with the Belt and Road initiatives, the need for security cooperation is on the rise. Compared with the economic links, China-Africa security cooperation has been lagging behind, but this is changing. Today's visit to the China Special Police is another sign that the two sides are deepening trust and a new mechanism of security cooperation is in the making.
Boomplay, a service founded by Transnet, a joint venture between Chinese filmmaker Transnet and Chinese consumer apps giant NetEase, has become Africa's most popular music streaming app. The company currently has some 5 million music tracks and videos on its platform, with a huge emphasis on African artists. It also has 42 million monthly active users, 85% of whom are on the African continent, primarily in Nigeria, Ghana, Kenya, and Tanzania. It is adding on average about 2 million users each month. Reporter Terry Wangari has the success story.
China has broken through the lucrative market of live streaming music in Africa through Transnet's mobile app, Boomplay. The mobile application currently has 46 million subscribers in Africa, beating Spotify and Apple soundly. Through a series of partnerships, the pre-installed app is on Tecno, Infinix and Itel phones, which are leading in market share in an attempt to penetrate this competitive market. That and the fact that their mode of payment is specifically suited to the African market.
The features of the app are really user-friendly to the African market. One of the features that I can really put forward is the local payment. So you use your local currency to do your payment as opposed to the international currency, dollar or euro. So this has helped in terms of penetration to the locals, not only the capital cities of the countries that we are in, but also the regional towns and cities in the countries.
While Spotify and Apple Music target users mostly in developed markets, Boomplay is expanding its music streaming business in Africa. The music streaming app invests in African music by promoting and funding local artists. Local subscribers say the app has opened up their world to undiscovered African content.
It's changed my perspective, really. You know, I used to think there's no talent in Kenya, but on Boomplay now they're all in one place. You can find them easily. People I've never even heard of, you know, even from like the upcountry places. Yeah, you find them right there, just arranged for you.
In March, Boomplay signed a direct licensing agreement with Warner Music. The agreement allows it to distribute more than 1 million songs to its community of listeners in 10 countries, including Cameroon, Rwanda, and Zambia. This gives an even wider selection of music to African listeners, but its success has not come easy.
The number one challenge is, and I think the oldest challenge, not only for Boomplay but cuts across board, is piracy. In the African market, people are not used to buying music. They're used to pirating the music, getting the songs for free. Even the artists themselves give out the music for free to some websites. So we're trying to discourage that from the artist perspective, showing them the business side of distribution in terms of their catalog. And it has been a good journey.
Boomplay is forging ahead with its plans to dominate the music streaming business in Africa after it raised $20 million in funding in April. It plans on using the funds to fuel expansion across the continent, including francophone regions in West Africa.
When we return, international news. U.S. House votes to block Trump's arms sales to Saudi Arabia. And later, sports. NFF President Amaju Pinnick removed as CAF's first vice president.
You are watching ANN.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. In foreign stories, the United States House of Representatives has approved 3 resolutions aimed at blocking President Donald Trump's planned sale of guided missiles and other weapons to Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and Jordan. Approval of the measures is another political rebuke of Trump's relationship with Saudi Arabia, which has drawn sharp criticism in Congress over human rights abuses and the mounting death toll from the war in Yemen. Many politicians believe Trump has exaggerated claims of an emergency, pointing out that most of the weapons sales at issue could not be delivered for months, even years. The House vote sends to the President 3 of 22 joint resolutions of disapproval already passed by the Senate. The President is expected to veto the measures. House Majority Leader Steny Hoyer, a Democrat, said the 3 specific resolutions were most significant because they would cancel contracts related to arms that could be used in the war in Yemen. The United States has demanded Iran immediately release a vessel it seized in the Gulf. A U.S. military commander said Washington will work aggressively to ensure free passage of vessels through the vital waterway. The U.S. blames Iran for a series of attacks on ships since mid-May in the world's most important oil artery. Tehran has rejected those accusations. The incident has raised fears the longtime foes could stumble into war. 8 persons have been killed after a bomb detonated near university premises in Afghanistan's capital on Friday. Health Ministry spokesman Wahidullah Mayor wrote on Twitter that another 33 persons were wounded in Friday's explosion. The blast reportedly happened near Kabul University's southern entrance. Kabul police spokesman Fedus Farmaz said the early morning explosion also set 2 vehicles ablaze. It was not clear if the attack was carried out by a suicide bomber or a remotely detonated bomb. The university compound also houses several hostels where many students stay for the summer while attending classes and conducting research. There has been no immediate claim of responsibility for the attack. The Japanese police are investigating a suspected arson attack that killed 33 persons in what has been described as one of the country's deadliest crimes in decades. The motive for the blaze is still unclear. The horrific fire in the city of Kyoto gutted a building owned by the animation production company Kyoto Animation. The tragedy shocked Japan, where violent crime is extremely rare, and there were questions over how so many could have died in a country where fire safety is taken very seriously. Investigation into the deadly fire was being complicated by the fact that the chief suspect, a 41-year-old man detained on Thursday, suffered serious burns in the blaze and was in the hospital. Some reports on Friday said the man was unconscious and the police had been unable to interrogate him so far. British parliamentarians dealt a blow on Thursday both to the dying embers of Prime Minister Theresa May's administration and to the likely next leader Boris Johnson even before it's been confirmed. MPs defeated the government in the votes that should thwart any efforts to suspend Parliament in order to push through a no-deal Brexit. Parliament has repeatedly voted against allowing a no-deal withdrawal from the European Union, and the notion of suspending or proroguing Johnson has made the UK's October the 31st withdrawal with or without a deal the central thrust of his campaign to become the next leader of the country's ruling Conservative Party, and has never ruled out the possibility of proroguing Parliament in order to get his way. Still to come, sports. NFF President Amaju Pinnick removed as CAF's first Vice President.
You are watching ANN.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. In sport, Super Eagles captain John Mikel Obi has announced his retirement from international football. Mikel says it is time for him to bow out of the team and let the young ones take over. Mikel says he started his national career in 2003 Under-17 World Cup. Nigeria's Amaju Pinnick has been removed as the first vice president in the Confederation of African Football, CAF. His replacement is South Africa's Danny Jordan. Pinnick has served in his role since July last year, and no reason was given for his removal by CAF President Ahmed, who signed an agreement with FIFA President Gianni Infantino on Thursday to confirm the appointment of FIFA Secretary General Fatma Samura as a general delegate for Africa. Jordan played a key role at the 2010 World Cup in South Africa, the only time the tournament has ever been played on the African continent. He will now act as CAF third vice president. That is ANN News this evening. Thank you for joining us. For details on these and other breaking stories, visit our website, annafrica.news. Conversation continues on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at ANN Africa TV. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Have a great weekend.